Welcome back, everyone, to the Complete Pineleaf, where last time we learned that the Weeping Warrior, our friend in Rust, and Karasgar, and all of that are behind the strange behavior of Bryn and some of the strange dealings here in Dale. Now, how's Bryn feel now after that little encounter?
It is hard to believe that my brother has forgiven me.
It's hard to believe that my brother has forgiven me, or that he ever shall. I even told him about the knife. Now I must do all I can to make up it for him. Ah, what a fool I've been! It is bitter, and I'm ashamed. But I must hide from unpleasant truths no longer. Well, it appears that Bryn is getting better.
I am glad to hear that my brother is no longer in danger.
I will take longer to forgive him, but I am sure that I shall. Much like the rebuilding of Dale and of the lake town. It is hard work and long, but we know it must be done. Yes, it must be done. What do you have to say, Queen Regent?
I.
You have been unraveling one more troubling scheme, Pineleaf, one that has run perilously close to my own blood. For that I thank you. And yet, what?
While I am no expert in dragons, I know some who are.
Why is it then that I can't stop thinking about the riddle of that dragon bones you told me of in Long Lake? And now you tell me that this Karasgar appeared holding a dragon's tooth? Although dragons played no small part in the history of the Dale Lands, we know remarkably little about the beasts. The dwarves, however, they have long memories, and I know that dragons figure largely into their own histories. I think you should make your way to Erebor, Pineleaf, and learn what you can about dragons' bones and teeth, and what this man of rust might be after. Yes, what is he after? What is all this talk about dragons' bones and his obsession with them? And he was talking about dragons when I spoke to him. Perhaps the dwarves will have an answer. I was thinking of speaking with King Thorn, but this guard stopped me.
All is well, and yet not all.
You there, hold! Do you know anything about this mischief? What mischief? Hmm, no, about that axe there. Nothing? Well, if this is the doing of those stout axes, then King Thorn shall hear a piece of my mind, and then some. He may trust them, but I do not. Take a look at it yourself. I am right, am I not? Axe. Embedded in a statue. Well, it's a dwarven axe. The old axe is lodged early in a stone, but rust. Karasgar. I think it's the work of Karasgar, the Weeping Warrior.
By my grandsire's beard.
Never heard of the name. I know I would remember it if I had. This Karasgar would be from Mordor, or I'm a worm's egg. And so are those stout axes, though, isn't it? Perhaps they know something of this mysterious figure. Why don't you speak as Organ and learn what you may? Well, okay, it is possible the stout axes may know a thing or two about this. Orug. I guess he'll be an Erebor. Let's see if Orog knows anything about Karasgar.
A glorious day!
Ah, Vigeland sent you, didn't he? Ah, the Weeping Warrior, yes. That he is called. One of the Gurzil I never set eyes on, but tales of his wicked deeds are told by the stout axes. A cruel assassin, a spy, and a tamer of beasts. He enslaved dragons for the Dark Lord, it is said. Well, it looks like he's still connected to dragons, that is for sure.
Greetings, friend.
Now, what'd you say your name was again? Pineleaf. Ah, that's the one. Gimli, son of Glowing, asked for you by name. He has gone before the king under the mountain and wishes for you to join him at once. He said it was a matter of great urgency, but would tell no one more of it. I wonder if he has anything to do with those short-bearded dwarves that returned with him. That is not a matter for me, I think. You'd best not keep the King Thorin and Gimli waiting. Alright. I should go and speak with Thorin and Gimli. Hello, Gimli. I heard that you wish to speak with me. It is time that we speak to King Thorin about the stout axes, don't you think? Let us get on with it, Pineleaf. Well then, Gimli approaches King Thorin III and begins to speak. Hail, Thorin III, King under the mountain! I come before you today to ask for your wisdom and mercy. In my adventures beyond the Black Gate of Mordor, I discovered a clan of dwarves known as the Stout Axes. They are a hardy folk, but they have been beset by tragedy in many turns. They have lost their ancestral home, much as we of Durin's folk have had in the past, and they have suffered under the Dark Lord and his servants. Their leader of old, King Greytooth, succumbed to what power lingered in the rings once wielded by the greatest kings of the dwarves, and led the remainder of the folk down the dark path to ruin. The Stout Axes were thus sundered, but I have come north with those who survived, and they did not lose hope that kindness could be found beyond the mountains of Mordor. Their numbers are small, and they have no home beyond these lands. I beg you, King Thorin, offer them a proper place among us, and they will offer their knowledge, compassion, and skills to Durin's folk. Gimli finishes speaking and looks to King Thorin. Let's hear his judgment. Gimli, son of Glowing, I have known your father and your family for many years. I have heard your words and will bear my judgment. As you well know, the Dale lands are filled with refugees of the East, and amongst them the unfortunate cousins of the hated Jelruka. Regardless of their heritage, I see their plight for what it is. I trust your words, Gimli, and I would not deny these oppressed by Mordor. The Stout Axes shall have shelter within Erebor, and be welcomed as friends of Durin's folk. However, these are difficult times. Sacrifices have been made by each of the kingdoms of the north, and more still would have to be made before we have healed the ills of the war. If the Stout Axes are to dwell amongst us, they must earn their place among our folk, and share their knowledge of the enemy and the lands beyond. You may inform the Stout Axes that they have found a new home in Erebor, but see to it that they offer their skills to all in need. Well, that is a reasonable judgment, I would say. What do you say, Gimli? Ha! It is as I hoped, Pineleaf. Ambassador Sparkworth and his folk will be grateful. They will understand what a king of the dwarves ought to be. Now then, as for earning their place... Let me get outside. That's not going to get us interrupted. Yes, I must admit, Pineleaf, I had begun to worry that King Thorin would not see the need for Thorin's folk to welcome the Stout Axes. I am pleased that he has proven to be as merciful and wise as King Dain. Ambassador Sparkhoth and the rest of his folk have traveled far to stand in the shadow of the Lonely Mountain, and in time I am certain that they will come to see as the Longbeards do. Aid Ambassador Sparkworth and his folk in earning their place in Erebor. It is the least we can do after what they have been through. Alright, so aid Sparkworth, Dreary, and Noth. I suppose I can do that. Well, probably not the best route to take. Ah, here are all the stout axes. Hello there, Sparkworth. Hail, Pineleaf! What did King Thorin have to say? I am overwhelmed. Such kindness has never been given to my folk, and the terms he had offered are more than fair. To live and to work amongst the dwarves of Erebor would be an honor. I have heard that many of the dwarves of Erebor are fond of crafting the mountain itself. If you were to gather loose stones from the slopes of Erebor, our rune carvers could shape them into rune stones for the king and his folk. Gather as many as you can bear and bring them to the rune carvers. They will know what to do. Alright. Collect some crude stones, then you can turn them into runes. Okay, what else? Oh, and that reminds me. I think the dwarves of Durin's folk would benefit from the skills of our smiths. I know that many of them still wish to rest from their journey, but we have to prove our worth to King Thorin. Convince them to go to the forges and work amongst the dwarves of Erebor, and I will see to it that they will not toil to exhaustion. Yes, they will need regular breaks on that. And here we have Noth. Hail! What news from Ambassador Sparkworth? He wasn't listening, I guess. Well, King Thorin is a very generous dwarf indeed. I will send as many stout axes as I can, but a few of our number have taken ill from the long journey to the north. We were beset by heavy rains before we arrived, and our cloaks were drenched. I do not know if that is the source of their ailments, but it did not help. If you could, bring them warmed clothes to them. I left our cloaks by several of the forges and fires in the hall, so that they should not be hard to find. Also, I think they could do with a healing draft or two, if you understand my meaning. Thank you, Pineleaf. You have done so much for us. I hope we could return your kindness one day. Well, I think that shall be our first priority. Will be taking care of the cloaks and the healing drafts. Okay. Then talk to the smiths so they can start working, then looking for the stones. But we do have Drury. Greetings, Pineleaf. Can you believe this place? It still seems a dream to me. Can I do for you? Well, that is a bit of a coincidence. I sent out several of our number to hunt the beasts of the north. It seemed to me that we should fill our own food stores, and we stout axes are more than capable of a simple hunt. However, your aid would be most welcome. Bring me as many cuts of boar meat and venison as you can. Well, we will, since you already have dwarves out for the hunt, that will be done when I go outside. I think first I should start looking towards the forges. Oh yes, healing draft. That's right. Here is a healing draft. I presume that I should remove these cloaks before I send any smiths here. We certainly don't want these cloaks to get burned. Anyway, oh, they're nice and toasty. That should keep them a little bit warmer as I pick up more healing drafts. Hello there. Sparkworth was wondering if you were rested enough to start working at the forges. Yeah, if you are. It is strange thing to know such comfort. For King Thorin's kindness is the least that I can do. Well, I am glad that he is appreciative. I presume you're standing here at the forges because you're ready to work now? Oh, it's time to start forging. There's no end to the riches of Erebor. Let us see what new works we... I guess he's going to get his tools then. Oh, there. Here's a nice warm cloak. Ah. And here's a nice warm cloak and a healing draft. Ah, the king of the mountain has shown such kindness. And here's for you. Okay, good. I guess there's one more who needs... Oh, here he is. And some for you. Well, that takes care of that. Let's see, what do we got here? We have got... Okay, that looks like a rather nice upgrade. Okay, I'll go with that. Even the light's an upgrade. I thought I found all the smiths that needed to go to work, but apparently there were a couple of them that were outside. So perhaps I'll be able to find the last of them and send them on their way as I head out to find some stones and to do some hunting, alright? Hunting for stones and hunting deer. Ah! I finally found some deer around here. There we go. That should do. Let's see if I could actually take it down long enough in order to be able to get it. Hello, and there we go. The first of many. Ah, I think I have found the path up the mountain. And I also found a stone that might be useful. I think this is the right path to find some nice, useful stones that could be used for carving. After collecting all that venison, I was wondering if I was going to find a boar anywhere, but it looks like I have found one. It's time to get some pork to add to the barrel. And then my task out here is done, I think. Well, maybe a little bit more pork first. Before I deliver those runestones, perhaps I should deliver all this meat to Dreary first. Wow, what a bountiful hunt! Thank you! You're welcome. Now, let's see if I can find these rune carvers and be finished with this little lot. Ah! There's one right there. Hello. Have some stones to carve. Ah! Well, all this meat is carved, so I will suppose a stone will have to do. Don't worry, there'll be more meat to carve soon. Hello there. Would you like some stones to carve? Here you go. Ah, yes, of course. Well, I'm glad he's appreciative. Here's the last of the rune carvers. Here you go, some stones to carve. Ooh, I shall carve this in a moment. Alright, good. So that takes care of quite a bit of stuff. So now let's speak to Ambassador Sparcourt to see if there's anything else that's needed to be done. Hello, mission accomplished. It is difficult to believe how swiftly our fortunes have changed, Pineleaf. It was not long ago that we toiled endlessly for Mordor. For nothing. If only King Greytooth had known what awaited us. Alas, the past is set in stone. I guess your rune carvers have already written it down. We must leave it behind and look to a new age. To a new age. I'm glad that you and Gimli were with us. It has been a bit overwhelming. We will continue to aid Durin's folk in their efforts to rebuild Erebor and heal the land surrounding it. But I would like to speak to the king under the mountain. I am grateful for the aid that you and Gimli have provided our folk, but I wish to express my thanks to the king, who is worthy of his title. Will you meet me before his throne? Yes, I shall meet you there. And I suppose that's what ambassadors are for, to talk to kings, right? Here you are before the throne. Hail, King Thorin the Third! Hail, King Under the Mountain! I am Sparkorth of the Stout Axes. Once I was counselor to Voscom Greytooth, the former king of my folk, but his madness and greed led him for the reason to ruin. We are a people without a leader, and though I now speak for my folk, I do not desire to lead them. I ask that of you, King Thorin. Servitude is still so fresh in our minds. We have always served the greater powers of Mordor, and once again we are bereft of the guiding hand of our king. I offer my people to you, to serve Durin's folk for the kindness that you have shown us. The Stout Axes shall be true friends of Durin's folk. I promise you this. Your words are appreciated, Sparkorth of the Stout Axes. Durin's folk are honored to have you and your kin among us, and do not take my request for aid to mean that the Stout Axes will once again serve at the will of an oppressor. You are our friends and our guests, and I will not allow any to say otherwise. What you have endured is now a matter of the past. I bear no judgment against you or your kin for the crimes of your king and those that turn to his will. We of Durin's folk have endured many hardships as well, and when the time is right, I shall tell you of them. Now, I must turn my attention to Erebor and to restoring the kingdoms of the north. Restoring the kingdoms of the north. And that is what we'll start doing in the next episode of Complete Pineleaf.